everybody hear me okay? I'm staying far enough away so that the hens don't make this choir too much. So the farm is 550 acres, 100 acres is open, and 450 of it is woodland, which goes up over the top of the Little North Mountain there, as far as you can see up over the top just a little bit. So we're long and narrow. That's the neighbor's place over there, and then you can't see the neighbor over here on the other side. We've been here since 1961, and these fields that we've driven by when we came were full of gullies and were so eroded that we couldn't even grow grass. When I was a kid, we could only have about 15 cows, and that was all the farm could support. There was no soil. There wasn't even enough soil to hold up electric fence stakes. And so we have done a lot of work to heal up those gullies. We built ponds and hauled the silt back up into those gullies and filled them in, and hundreds and hundreds of truckloads. Hard competition. And have gradually added all the different species to try to duplicate the kind of herbivore bird diversity that was here 600 years ago, when this was a great big silvopasture. When Governor Spotswood, who was the colonial governor of Virginia, sent the Knights of the Golden Horseshoe across the Blue Ridge to figure out what was going on in the valley in 1700, they wrote back and said everywhere they rode in the valley they could take the grass and tie it in a knot above the horse's saddle. This was a magnificent silvopasture of widely spaced trees and grass. Imagine that you can tie in a knot above the horse's saddle. We modern Americans are brain damaged when it comes to grass. You know, when we think grass, we think lawns and golf courses. But when I say grass, I'm talking about tying it in a knot above the horse's saddle. I'm talking about Little House on the Prairie, when Ma and Pa wouldn't let the girls go past the threshold of the soddy lest they get lost. You know, we read that today and think, well, my goodness, if I did that, the beautification committee would come and cite me for a lawn ordinance violation, you know, for letting it grow. And actually, all fertile soils in the world have been built with perennials and herbivores and predators. That's how deep soils have been built. Whether it's the wildebeest on the Serengeti, the American bison in North America, the gauchos and cows in Argentina, all these areas have been built with herbivores and routine disturbance. Following herbivores, you know, before Pfizer and Merck Pharmaceuticals, how did nature sanitize behind these herbivores? It's always with birds. Birds follow the herbivores. And so, we've taken that page, that template out of nature's pattern, and we have the eggmobiles. So there are several hundred, 700 layers here in the eggmobiles, which are portable hen houses. The chickens scratch through the cow patties, eat out the fly larvae. You can see here how they scratch through them. They eat out the fly larvae, spread them out so they cover more ground, and essentially act as a biological sanitizer so that this is all nice and clean and hygienic for the next time the cows come in, and the chickens have eaten out all those pathogens that would affect the cows otherwise. And of course, the neat thing is, instead of us having to pay them to do this work, They lay eggs as a byproduct of the pasture sanitation process. Now this pair of egg mobiles is only one pair of five pairs that we have. They're not all here. We rent 8 other pieces of property that we have former interns on as independent contractors that are growing the same things and healing those acres, feeding into our umbrella. So in the wintertime, of course, it gets too cold, and these egg mobiles are parked for the winter, and the birds go into those hoop houses, those greenhouses you saw down at the house, for about 100 days in the wintertime. The rabbits move in on top of them. Pigs go in there as well, okay? And then they're all in there nice and warm and cozy when it's cold and the snow is blowing. And then in the spring, early March, they all come back out on pasture. We clean them out, and then into that disturbed, composted deep bedding that has enjoyed all those animals and composting through the winter. Then we go in, as you can see, with vegetables and plant those hoop houses full of vegetables for in the summertime. So those structures get used year-round, but with different animals and plants in them, which create pathogen cul-de-sacs and eliminate the diseases that would affect both plants and animals by having these long host-free periods every year. The beauty, though, is we get that without having to shut down the infrastructure. We simply use it with a different species of thing. And that accomplishes the same thing. It eliminates the buildup of virility that you would get in a typical monospeciated, monoculture type situations. It eliminates that without having to depopulate or go to a shutdown period. Are you with me? So that's how it works. Questions?
What's the material for the hoop house roof?
The material for the hoop house roof is a laminated plastic. It's about a 9 or 10 mil laminated, which means it goes together like plastic Coke six-pack things, all layered together, which means that it won't rip. The layers are webbed, so if the little rip starts, it stops at the next crossing.
What's the replacement rate on that?
It's rated for 15 years, and those have been on for a long time. It's so tough they've even used them for sails on ships. You can use them to line earthworm beds, or if you want to make a pool of water and you've got a permeable something, you can line it. It's very, very tough material.
Is there a brand name?
What we use is from Northern Greenhouses. All of the stuff that you'll see here today, pumps, materials, water valves, all that stuff is on our website on the resources section. If you'll click resources, it'll tell you with a little synopsis, here's where we get this, here's where we get this, here's where we get this, right down the line. In fact, I need to check it to make sure it's current because we, you always add stuff sometimes, so I need to check, make sure it's current.
Are the vegetables a relatively new thing, or have you been doing that for a while?
Vegetables, aren't they beautiful in there? Did y'all see them? Aren't they beautiful? Okay, the vegetables are part of a thing that we're doing that's kind of our most exciting innovation now, and that is, now that we have such a wonderful reputation built over decades of integrity, people want more stuff. Well, Teresa and I aren't 20 years old anymore, okay? And I'm busy doing a lot of this. So how do you meet those needs, meet the market? How do you do that without destroying your life, whatever, working yourself into an early grave? I don't mind working. I love working hard. a little bit, you can do too much. So, what we're doing is creating customized opportunities for former interns who are the cream of the crop, obviously, who want to join us as a commission-based team player and layer complementary businesses on our Polyface platform. So, Leanna, who was an intern last year, has come back this year as a half-time product inventory manager, for which she gets a salary, and then her other half is full-time horticulturalist that she can grow as much as she wants and thinks she can sell. Well, I don't want to go into all the little itty-bitty details, but the point is that it's her business. She's not on a salary on that. It's a total by the pound. We've established a pound rate on everything she grows, and her lease to Polyface, her royalty payment for having this opportunity and marketing and free tractors and free labor and all this is that she grows the stuff that Sherry and Teresa want to can for our personal, our own family personal use. 100 pounds of potatoes, whatever, 5 bushels of green beans, 6 bushels of tomatoes, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, we've created these customized packages so that the creme de la creme who wants to stay can join the team and augment the pot and just make it sweeter. Because once you have people who trust you, they want to buy a lot of other kind of things. And so why not leverage that market? I mean, the truck's going anyway, right? And so that's going. So today, I think she sold 13 pounds of lettuce to our restaurants, today's restaurant delivery. So she did a bunch of that. And of course, we've been enjoying lettuce every night. So it was a way to get the garden done well, without us having to do, without Daniel and me and Teresa, without us having to continue to do that. We can do other things. And so that's the horticulture. Yes, it is fairly new, but it's very exciting to see it done better than we've ever done it before, but somebody who's incentivized and impassioned to enjoy doing that. That's what's exciting. And so we think that we could actually layer on another dozen things easily here, for people that essentially create their own customized incentive packages that are symbiotic product lines for what we're doing. Great question. Yes, Bill.
How can you protect your chickens from all the varmints?
How can you protect them from all the varmints? Yeah, we're up here standing amongst a bunch of chickens. Everybody's asking questions about the business. All right. So how do we do the varmints? You see this big white dog running around.
Yeah.
All right. His name is Michael, wherever he is. He's back there. Okay. His name is Michael.
What
all right.
kind is he? What breed is he?
Nobody's ever asked me what breed he is. That's a brand new question. I've never had that question before. All right, you ready for this? You ready for this? He's an Akbash, which is a Turkish nocturnal guardian dog. It's an Akbash crossed with an Austrian Anatolian Shepherd. Okay? So he's an Akbash Anatolian Shepherd cross.
He's working hard.
Yeah, he's working. All right. He's nocturnal. He doesn't look like squat during the day, but at night he comes alive and patrols these fields.
Wow.
And we've heard him stand off whole groups of coyotes and foxes. He eats about 2 skunks a month. We know when he's been in the skunk. But he's very, very effective. Now, that being said, a couple other things. One is that we're of course running the chickens behind the cows, so the pasture is short, and predators tend to not like to cross clean ground, because a great horned owl will pick a weasel or a mink right up off the ground.